Hello, hello, beautiful one. So grateful that you're journeying with us today for this energetic conversation and divine transmission, all centered around this idea and energetic of divine will. And the intention of this energetic conversation is to demystify our relationship and how we relate to divine will. And so we're just going to invite you to take a deep breath in, orienting to your column of light that is you. You have a spark in the heart of source. Your ray of light emanates from that spark. You are light. You are light of the divine, fully connected to the divine. And as you orient to what you are, we encourage you to be in the attitude of, what if you're just hearing this concept of divine will for the first time? So, in other words, are you willing to let go of all the judgments, conclusions you've made about what it is or what it isn't in the past? Because chances are that your first introduction to the concept came through a way of being, perceiving, even speaking from a place of being separate from source. And so when we're trying to relate to divine will as one who is perceiving that it's separate from source, separate from God, separate from creator, separate from all that is, we can perceive that divine will is something external, and we're going to have to give up our free will choice or our freedom in order to align with it, in order to, it's like a sacrifice of sorts to come into alignment with it, or to quote unquote surrender to divine will. When in fact, if we are one with an infinite source, divine will is not separate from what we are, especially when we orient to spark level, what we are as a spark in the heart of source, part of the oneness. And so, will you step into this idea of, I'm willing to let go of everything I think it is, so that you can meet it anew? And it doesn't have to be this mystical thing of, how do we align with divine will? How do we surrender to it? Because it carries with it this assumption that we have to give our power away. And that's actually the opposite of what it is. Aligning with divine will in truth from a place of oneness is actually accessing the potency of you as a being of light, one with source. And so we're going to bring it in kind of a different way than maybe you've heard it before. All of this is kind of a metaphor to help you orient from a linear perspective to what it actually is. So just take a moment and imagine that you are a multidimensional being, and in a higher realm, there is an aspect of you that has a higher perspective, access to more data than you have from this vantage point. This higher self of you is not separate from you. It is you. It is you in a higher realm. You might even just say out loud, my higher self is me in a higher realm. It's not a separate being. It is you from a different perspective, a different vantage point, a different frequency. And at that higher frequency, that aspect of you, you could call it your I am presence, your higher self, has access to a lot more data a lot more information than we get from just this human physical realm vantage point. So again, we would encourage you to write down or say out loud, my higher self is me in a higher realm, and my higher self has access to more data than I have here. Because from this perspective, you get what the mind can process linearly, the intellect. Most of the time, unless you're functioning as a multidimensional being with your knowing, with your intuition, then you're going to get these energetic downloads that the mind can sort of kind of unpack, but really just show up as a knowing or remembering. But we're speaking in terms, we're trying to simplify here, demystify, higher will, divine will. It is you in a higher realm, your higher self. You could say your higher self is aligned with divine will. And one way of saying that is your higher self is fully being, doing, and having what it is created to be as an aspect of the divine. You as a being, that includes your higher self, have a unique divine blueprint, snowflake, never going to be replicated. Your higher self is that expression of that full-on schematic of you as a being in a higher realm. And it has access to all the data in many, many dimensions. You at this level are probably in the process, if you're listening to this transmission, of remembering, moving up in frequency as you remember what your divine blueprint expression is. And it's not necessarily that you remember it intellectually as much as you remember it vibrationally, far beyond the intellect. And as you learn to collaborate with that higher aspect of you, recognizing that it is you in a higher realm, it has access to more data, you begin to very naturally and organically reorient and ascend, becoming more like that version of you in a higher realm because you're remembering what you are in truth. You're remembering vibrationally. And then side effect is it becomes more conscious who you really are as a being. And then that divine will, you could say, is for you to be you. That divine will is the divine source created you as this beautiful spark in the heart of source that has a higher self. And your divine blueprint, snowflake blueprint that is unique to you, given at point of inception, the time you were created, the moment you were created. Divine will is that you be that. And we could use the example of the divine will of a pineapple seed is to bear fruit and become a pineapple plant and for there to be pineapple. You, however, are the only one of you. Like there are multiple pineapple seeds. There's only one of you. There's only one of your unique spark blueprint in the heart of source. There is not a replica. And divine will is simply that you get to become and be you and thrive as you. And we've said before, we'll say again, the divine desires for you to thrive. You were created to thrive as you, not as something else. So if you're trying to be something other than what you are, then the struggle ensues. But when you release, let go of all the conditioning, the expectations, judgments, conclusions of who you're quote unquote supposed to be, you very naturally and organically begin to move into the rhythm, the heartbeat, the flow of divine will as you. And it's not surrendering to something external. It's not giving your power away. It's harnessing the potency of you. It's leaning into and activating you in your full potency, embracing your essence, embracing your divine uniqueness. And another way to look at this is whenever you're questioning, well, what is divine will in a certain situation or circumstance? Divine will is for you to thrive, for you to move in the direction of remembering more of your essence. And if you had all the information, if you had access to all the information your higher self has access to, you would very naturally, automatically choose in favor of divine will, because there wouldn't be any resistance to thriving. You would just choose in the direction of it. And what I'm looking at is this idea of we've made divine will something it is not. That somehow it's this unattainable, unreachable, mystical mystery that there's some external authority in the heavens telling us what to do or not do, and we have to follow the rules. We would say, will you release that interpretation in favor of a simple and elegant and connected way of relating to divine will, where it's simply you in a higher realm, knowing who you are as a spark and knowing your divine blueprint, choosing in favor of the actualization of what you are to be, do, and have. And so whenever you're wishing to align with divine will, you can link to your higher self and ask it to help you do it. Because when you are in alignment with the divine will in any situation, circumstance, moment, you are moving in the direction of thriving. You are vibrating in the direction of remembering more of who you are and thus unlocking more of your infinite potential. So we're going to bring in a process for that. And again, we invite you to release all the meaning you've given, and we'll actually make that part of the process. Divine will, so that you can allow for the reinterpretation of what it actually is. And you may find that it supports you, it may or may not, to give it a different label, to call it something else, until you get more comfortable with what it actually is. And the old definitions, ways of being with divine will that came from separation, fear, lack, giving our power away, doesn't influence what you're doing now to function with that truth. And so there may be some words that come through to support that, but encouraging you to make it your own and you decide what works for you. All right, here's the process. Inviting you to take a deep breath in, remembering who you are in a greater way as one with source. And as you do that, just imagine and intend to inhale and bring all your energy, your awareness, your focus back to your line of light in a whole and healed state, calibrated for you in this now moment. Orienting in your vertical column of light, remembering it in a greater way. And as you orient to the light that you are, we invite you at the level of your higher self, your body, Deva's higher self, and your teams to work with the energetic fields and the guides to reference your sparks in the heart of source. So you as a being reference your spark in the heart of source. The body Deva can reference its spark in the heart of source, part of Gaia's spark. And the team members can all reference their sparks. Higher self can do that for you. Again, we're inviting the higher self to do that for you because it knows exactly where it is and how to reference it and how to support you in orienting to it. It's more of an energetic yoga pose than it is a mental, intellectual process. We use the mental to make the request for the higher self to execute what we're asking. And then we're going to invite you at this level to be willing to release all the meaning you've given your relationship with divine will in order to allow it to be reinterpreted to a higher octave by your higher self. And then we're going to invite your higher self to help you do that if you're choosing it. We're going to invite the body, Deva, and teams to do the same. We're going to ask Gaia Earth to help the body devas move into a new relationship orientation with divine will and what it actually is, what it really is. And I'm hearing the words, it's love. It's love. And are you willing to kind of presence all the things that you've been attempting to solve at this level? It's like they're showing you this puzzle you've been trying to put together at this level. Issues, challenges. Are you willing to allow for your higher self to reinterpret your relationship with all of those issues, challenges, problems, puzzles, and to align? It's like for your higher self to get clear on divine will for all of those situations and circumstances, meaning what will support you in thriving in every single one of them. It's another way of saying that. Let your higher self, with all the data, access to all the data, determine what that is. What is the divine will? What would create the thriving in every single one of these conundrums that I thought it was my job to solve at this level? But I now remember I have a higher self and a higher realm that I can request for assistance. And you can invite your guides and advice to sit with your higher self and determine, to get clear, basically, what's the divine will here? What's being asked for in a higher realm? And they're showing me this idea of we've kind of been trying to navigate at this level with the blindfold on, thinking we know it's this way when it's actually this way. Like our compass has been off because we've been trying to do it on our own. When we link with our higher self and our guides and ask for that assistance, ask them to get clear in a higher realm. What is the divine will? What is the direction of the thriving? What is being asked for? We don't have to know what it is at this level. We may not be able to intellectualize it. It might not have a story or a concept that makes sense to us at a linear perspective. And so this is what I would say is meant by surrender, where we take all our issues, our problems that we're trying to solve on our own. We remember we have a higher self and we give it to ourself in a higher dimension to solve. The part of us that knows oneness with source. There's no question of oneness with source. There's no lack. There's no scarcity. There's no fear. There's no limitation. Higher self, work on it. Then show me what to do. Pulse me accordingly. I'm willing to align with divine will because I recognize that means that's equivalent to thriving. And maybe you call it, what is the will of thriving here? What is the direction of thriving? Instead of using the words divine will. But that is, they are equivalent. They are equivalent. They mean the same thing. So we're just going to invite you to, in your own unique way, work with your higher self to reinterpret it in a way that works for you. Your relationship with alignment with divine will. Because when you align with divine will, you thrive. And then the attitude after we hand something over to our higher self to get clarity around is okay. We've let go of it, handed it off to our higher self. We're not going to try to continue to try to figure it out at this level. So we're just helping you release your attachment to the degree that you choose to off of the situation, circumstances. Are you willing to release all the meaning you had given those puzzles, those conundrums, those challenges, those issues? And if it's a body Deva challenge, you want to encourage the body to do this process. Body Deva, hand it over to your higher self in a higher realm to work on with guides and advisors and to get clear on what you're really after. That aligns with your divine blueprint, that aligns with your essence, which is another way of saying divine will. And then be in the willingness to align with the highest good, with the quickest, fastest, most harmonious answer, and be willing for it not to make sense to the intellect. When the impulse of what direction to go or what choice to make comes, allow it to not make sense. And so oftentimes that means we take a leap of faith in some cases where we're prompted to do a certain action, to take a certain road, to go a certain direction, and it makes no sense to reason, to linear mind, to logic, but that's the path. And it's like an energetic shortcut that defies logic. Now, our higher self is not going to make us take that energetic shortcut. It's not going to push us or shove us into the path of thriving. We're still in our free will choice. When that guidance comes, that pull, that's like prompt to take certain action, we can choose it or not. And so this becomes a practice of choosing consciously to link in with your higher self and ask to be aligned with divine will, and then be willing to allow for what unfolds, be willing to follow the guidance when it comes. So we're going to bring this in as an energetic download. We could do a whole master class on this. And we're going to invite you, your body, your teams to just allow for your higher self, bodies, higher self, and teams to work on the issues in a higher realm and to be prompted accordingly as you go about your day, as you go about your daily life, and to trust what comes. And you might journal. You might ask to be informed in dream time. You might meditate, whatever works for you. It may just come to you in the shower or while you're taking a walk, the guidance. So then trust that it is being worked on, solution will present itself, or it will actually, whatever the situation was, just magically takes care of itself. We invite a balancing and stabilizing of all your energetic fields, updating all grids, all reference points, all ways in which you perceive and are perceived. And I want to take a moment just to mention that we are going to begin a new series starting April 26th. It's a 3-week series. We're going to do 3 90-minute transmissions of light to support you in harmonizing the divine masculine within. And this idea of will, of drive, is often linked with the divine masculine aspects, as is courage and wisdom and strength and integrity and support and safety and so many others. And we're going to be looking at it from a different angle than we ever have before, where we support you and your body, Deva, and the teams to align, restore, and balance these divine masculine aspects. And they're just showing me there's going to be some deep core healing in relationship to the divine masculine. So you can learn more about it on our website, and I'll put a link below. The website, by the way, is embracingtheinfinite.com. And if it's not on the main page, you can go to the online store, but this one should be out on the main page for you. And we look forward to connecting with you again soon. And if you choose to journey with us for that series, it does include the live transmissions, the recordings, and also 2 times a week, we're going to include dream time support for all that we're moving through. And they're also showing me like these idea of past life traumas being resolved, being healed, related to the divine masculine, so that these qualities of the divine masculine can show up for you within you first, and then reflect into your life in a much more balanced, harmonic, supportive way. So again, if it resonates, please feel free to visit the website to check it out. There is a special savings for a limited time. And so you can see if it resonates for you to journey with us. And we want to thank you for showing up for today's transmission. And we look forward to connecting with you all very soon. Much love.